first, since we really don't know each other, I have no like background on you. So I've only met you on Instagram. So can you please tell us like a little bit about your story and how you got started growing microgreens and then also selling them?
Yeah, I would love to. It's nice to actually get to chat with you also. I feel the same. Like I know you
Yeah.
from Instagram and other things, but haven't actually gotten to chat with you. So this is great.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. So my story basically, I got into growing microgreens not to start a business, really. I was working as a registered nurse. That's my background, is in traditional healthcare, working in the hospital, at the bedside, working as a nurse. I uh, had my second baby and started really struggling with going to the hospital and being away from my toddler, 18-month-old, and my very new baby. It just, it was a struggle. For anyone who has become a parent, you find it radically shifts your priorities in your life, or at least it did for me. And I'd already up before that point started to become a little bit less aligned with what I was doing every day at work. And that became harder and harder. And then when I had kids, being away from them and not being able to be present and just being worn out, exhausted. I am an introvert, so I'd use up kind of all of my energy with my patients and my coworkers at work and come home and just be wiped. And then I just got really tired of that. And I got really down. I got really just struggling, feeling really low, thinking this should be such a happy time in my life. I have these beautiful new children, and I'm this mom, always wanted to have this life, and yet I'm not happy. And so I tried to think of things that made me happy. And I used to love to grow things, and I'd kind of let go of that because life was so busy with these long shifts and just other things. And I tried to do a garden and I failed completely because I was exhausted. And it's really hard to do anything with an infant and a toddler. If you've been in that situation, I think you would agree. And so I really felt down about that. And then I found out about microgreens and was like, maybe I could do this. This looks doable. This is little, this is small. And so I started with these little windowsill pots. My toddler helped me. We filled them with soil, sprinkle seeds, and I loved it. It was so therapeutic for me to get into growing and something that I could see the results. So I did it kind of thinking, oh, my son will love it and maybe it'll get him eating greens. But he did like it, but I loved it. It captivated me to watch and have these greens in my home environment. I grew them in my house on my windowsill. And I started to grow more and more. I scaled up into starting to grow into trays. And then I had lots of microgreens. Pounds and pounds of microgreens for my family and giving them away. And so I thought maybe I could sell these. You know, I'm watching YouTube videos and I'm learning. And I found one local restaurant and they started buying microgreens from me. So that's how it started. It was very much a side hustle, right? I was still working, but it actually energized me to add this thing that I loved to my life. Which was growing nutritious food. And that really helped kind of continue to shift me into more holistic thinking as far as being aware of how important. I mean, I saw evidence of it in working at the hospital, how Western medicine is very geared towards attacking disease, right? Fighting off disease. And what I really longed for was putting my efforts into building wellness in our bodies and recognizing how amazing our bodies. I looked at my beautiful children's little bodies and just how amazing and full of life they are and how strong and resilient, and thought how much I want to just invest in that, in wellness, and starting with the very basics of what we're eating. And microgreens are incredible. If you're not familiar with microgreens, when we're talking about microgreens, basically a stage of a plant's life, right? So this is the stage after sprouts. They're little seedlings, and this is when they're really concentrated with nutrition. They're also really flavorful and delicious and all of that. So they are, the research is coming out, and this just gets me really excited because the vitamins, the minerals, the phytonutrients that we're finding out is they're so concentrated in these little greens that it is a huge benefit to eating them. And as people are learning about this and they're seeing it, the demand for microgreens is really increasing, which
Mhm.
is exciting because it allows us as small growers to have an impact on our communities by providing local fresh greens. I can grow these year round.
Mhm.
Uh, and so it's really a rewarding enterprise. And I've just seen the demand increase incredibly over the last
That's
few years. So I know that
That's
was a lot.
awesome. No, no, that's good. No, I love your story because that's actually a lot of gardeners and homesteaders start off like, well, I needed to change my health or I needed something different in my life. I needed not to be so overwhelmed with life and I needed to, simplify and homesteaders and gardeners kind of that's why they, go that direction and they find out how much the health part comes after that, like their emotional health, your physical health just comes from this. I was going to ask you what exactly a microgreen is, because there is a chance that people who are listening to either the podcast or in the Homestead Income Plan group, where we're streaming live right now, might want to know what exactly a microgreen is. So if you could just go back a little bit and tell us what exactly a microgreen is, and also because I've done a little bit of research on this and I know that they have more nutrients than their adult version, and
Mhm.
why that is kind of like I don't understand why that is. So if you could explain that as well.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. And if you are unclear about it, don't feel silly at all because it's
Mhm.
the norm. Even I live somewhere where microgreens are pretty prevalent, and still I find a lot of people don't really understand what microgreens are. So there's a lot of confusion about sprouts and microgreens. So sprouts are germinated seed, right? They're sprouted seed. They're usually grown. Maybe you've done them on your counter in a jar, usually in a very wet, dark environment. It allows that seed to germinate, and then you eat that seed, the little germinated sprout and the roots. You eat it all. Very nutritious. Um, Doing that on a home scale for yourself is great. If you are looking into actually selling sprouts, you will find that there's a lot of regulations. These are considered a high risk food when you start scaling up the operation. What I loved about microgreens is microgreens are
Mm,
different than sprouts. Microgreens are the next stage
mm,
in a plant's life. So almost any edible vegetable herb can be grown as a microgreen. It just means you are harvesting it when it is a seedling, when the cotyledon leaves have come out, those first seed leaves, and the true leaf, that center leaf, is just starting to emerge. Now, it depends a little bit on varieties. For me, most of my microgreens are harvested 10 days after I plant them.
mm,
So they're very, very young. And this is why they're so nutrient dense. Like Mona was saying, their studies are showing some of the nutrients they found were like 40 times more concentrated than the mature version of that vegetable. For example, like a micro broccoli or a micro radish, you'll find that the nutrients are extremely concentrated. And this is because they're not diluted out into the plant yet. All the energy is coming from the seed itself. I'm not adding fertilizers or nutrients or even compost to
mm,
my growing medium. All of the energy, if I continued to grow it, you would see that the seedlings started to cry out for nutrients. They turn yellow, and you've probably seen that if you're a gardener at all. But with
mhm,
microgreens, we're harvesting them before they get to that stage, before they're needing to grab nutrients from the soil. So the nutrients are coming from the seed, which contains all of that goodness, and from photosynthesis, from the light.
mhm,
So they're extremely concentrated at that phase of life,
mm,
which makes them really fun. And yeah, you can grow almost anything as a microgreen. Some vegetables don't lend themselves to growing densely or being harvested that early. That's why you see some of the ones that are the most popular, pea shoots, sunflower shoots, radish, broccoli. But there's all kinds of microgreens out there that you can grow. And they are extremely flavorful as well.
mm,
You can really taste when people like a pea shoot, for example, tastes just like a fresh picked pea from your garden. A radish shoot tastes like radish. micro broccoli, tastes like broccoli, except it is, even my kids love microgreens, and they are very normal American picky kids. But they like microgreens. So that's a huge win for me as a mom too. And I love giving that gift to other moms that are wanting to get their kids eating real living food. This is a way you can do it, especially if you involve them in growing, because it's so great for little concrete thinkers. They can see the seeds, they can help water, they can watch them grow every day, they change, and then they can actually eat them. It's really
Mhm.
exciting.
Yeah, that was actually the next question I was going to ask you. How do you prepare microgreens to eat? Like in what ways? Do you ever cook them and that sort of thing?
I avoid cooking them
Hmm.
to just preserve the nutritional value of the microgreens. So there is some degrading of some of the nutrients if you're cooking them for any length of time. But my favorite thing is just to add them to almost everything. I am not a fancy cook, so a lot of people think of microgreens as something that a high-end chef would use. They're very fancy or gourmet. They don't have to be. They can absolutely be an ingredient in any of your regular dishes that you're eating. If people are brand new to them, I tell them to kind of think about where they use lettuce and start substituting microgreens for lettuce. So if you have lettuce on a sandwich or a burger or tacos or wraps, instead of lettuce, use those microgreens to get those nutrient dense greens that hopefully you've bought either from a local grower or you've grown yourself, even better, and you're getting that absolute best nutrition that you can get, and it's so easy to incorporate. So I do have recipe guides and stuff because people always ask for
Hmm.
inspiration, but honestly, I am a very I cook really basic family friendly meals, and I just add microgreens on top of things and add them as a
Okay.
side. My kids eat them by the handful like they would eat cut up carrots or something.
Mm.
So it does not have to get really complicated. You can put them on eggs. You can top your soup with them. You can top almost anything with them. I keep it really basic and really simple. You can get fancy for sure, but
Hmm.
you don't have to. It's kind of what works for you. The important thing is just to get them into your diet.
Yeah. So this may be a newbie realization, this is, but I didn't realize they tasted like their adult version. I
Yeah.
was just in my mind because I don't think I've ever had like true microgreens. I've had young lettuce and young
Mhm.
things, but not true microgreens. And I just assumed it was just like lettuce, like it would taste like lettuce or something. So I need to start, so that's lead us to the next question, which is how long does it take to like set up a microgreen system, and like what are the supplies that you need if you're just like someone like me who just wants to do it for the family and not necessarily a business?
Yeah, you could probably do it this afternoon. It would
Mm,
probably take you 15 minutes.
wow.
It doesn't have to
Mhm,
be complicated or fancy. When I first started growing, I think I grew in an old yogurt container that I cleaned out and
mhm,
poked some holes in. So yeah, you can buy specific trays. Of course, you can buy the fancy nice things. You can buy specific things. You can buy a starter kit, a grow kit,
mhm,
or you can just use, if you are a gardener, homesteader, you probably have almost everything you need for microgreens. The
mhm,
one thing you want to think about if you're going to do this is purchasing seed in bulk. So if
mm,
you are, when we seed microgreens, we are seeding them very, very densely. This is a hard thing for gardeners to grasp at first because it seems like you're using an insane amount of seed. So just buy a pound of seed of whatever kind you want. Buy a
mhm.
couple pounds of seed, keep them in a mason jar with a lid on so they keep nice and dry, and it will last you. You can grow a year's worth of microgreens for your family with that. And it, a pound of broccoli seed, when you're buying it in bulk, is going to be, I don't know, $20, something like that. So really
Yeah.
inexpensive. If you're buying a seed packet, you're going to use that entire seed packet for one harvest, one pot of microgreens. So don't do it that way. If you
Okay.
but all you need is a container, something that will drain. I like to bottom water my microgreens, so I put a tray with holes inside a tray without holes, and I fill it with a
Okay.
potting soil or seed starting mix. I like to grow in that. You can grow microgreens hydroponically, you can grow them on all kinds of things, but just keep it simple when you're starting. Use a
Okay.
seed starting mix. You're going to fill your tray to the top, press it down lightly so it's a little bit compressed. You're going to sprinkle your seed, so it's almost, I mean, you're surface is covered with seeds. It's a
Mhm.
lot of seed.
Okay.
Just you gotta just
Well,
go with
this
it.
question just came up from Joni about where do you buy these seeds?
I buy my seed from True Leaf Market. They have a lot of options when it comes to microgreen specific seed. You can grow other seed, just like a package of broccoli seed as broccoli microgreens, but certain varieties lend themselves better to microgreens. So if you buy seed that's marketed as microgreen seed, you're going to have more success with it, growing it
Okay.
in the density that you're growing it. So True Leaf Market offers a lot of varieties of organic, non-GMO microgreen seed, and when you buy it in bulk, it really is a low cost way of getting really nutritious greens into your diet. Investing in a pound of seed is such a great thing. When I was growing my little windowsill pots that was kind of the size of a yogurt container, I used about a teaspoon of seed per pot. And
Okay.
so a pound of seed will last a long time when you're doing that, and it will grow, and you will grow about a cup or two, depending on the variety of harvested microgreens. And remember, these are very
Mhm.
dense, so even just a small amount on everyone's meal is going to help provide extra nutrients. It also just gives you kind of that freshness. And if you are looking for a way that you can start growing food, this is a way that is it's probably the easiest, simplest, fastest way that you can start doing it year round, right in your home, and it just connects you. Even that little bit connects you to something living that you are growing. I let my kids snip off their own microgreens and add them to their plates, and it's really rewarding to do that way. So True Leaf Market is where I buy most of my seed.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, you're making me want to just go and get some of my seeds. And I actually have very large front windows, and I was thinking of just putting a a shelf up there, and I was like, I could probably grow stuff all year round because they're very large front windows. Is that something like that would be a good setup for something like this?
Yeah, that's how I started growing. I used
Hmm.
to have to just turn my pots, when I walked by and saw them all kind of leaning like they'll do. I would just give them a turn. So I
Okay.
cover them after I sprinkle the seed. I spritz them with water so that they're wet. I cover them with something, and I actually either put a rubber band holding that down or put some kind of weight, whether you're putting a can of soup or a book or something, to press a lid down on that on those seeds. It creates that nice moist environment, and so they will all germinate together at the same rate.
Mm.
After about 3 days, I'm going to take that lid off and then just expose them to light and let them grow. And in about 10 days, they're ready to harvest. It's really
Wow.
that easy. You're watering them every day, either bottom watering them if you're putting them in a tray, or just gently pouring a little water around the soil surface down on the edge. And it's really simple. You will see
Yeah.
once you start doing it how simple it is.
Yeah, that's something I've said like last year I did a reel or something. I said, growing food is not complicated. Like food things want to grow. We just have
Yeah.
to give it the nice bed and the nice space that it needs, and then it will grow. It's not really that complicated. I mean, you can make it complicated, but it doesn't have to be. So this sounds like the foolproof way
Yeah,
of
you learn so quick because they grow so quick. So even if you do
Mhm,
something wrong, just replant, grow
mhm,
again. You can, after growing a couple cycles, you will quickly figure it out.
mhm,
And so it's really satisfying. Gardening, sometimes, you have to wait a whole nother season to try something if you realize something didn't work. With
mhm.
microgreens, just a week and you can
Yeah.
start again. So you can learn very, very quickly.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for giving us that little bit of information. We're going to move into. I mean, you gave us a lot of information. I don't want to make that sound like you gave us a little. You gave us a lot of information in a short amount of time. But I wanted to make sure that we're asking the business questions because that's what this group is about. So, what are like you said the basic supplies to get started for home use, but in
Yeah.
a business sense, what would somebody want to start with?
Yeah, if you're going to shift into growing microgreens for profit, I recommend, if you don't have space to grow horizontally, like you don't have a greenhouse or something like this, grow vertically. Microgreens do really well when grown vertically. What I mean by that is you just purchase a shelving unit. So you have a rack, and I I teach how to do this. It's hard for me to do it here because but I have a lot of videos that will show you exactly how to do this.
Mhm.
So you're going to purchase a rack and actually put grow lights on each shelf. My racks hold 4 trays per shelf. So you can grow about 20 trays, depending on how many shelves your rack has, per rack, which is 4 feet wide. So it does not take up a lot of room. You can put this in a spare room, or in your garage or in a shed, or I had a little one in my kitchen first and then I moved it. We have a little storage room. I cleared out some space and I put it there, and that's why I first started growing for my first restaurant. So I had one order, $200 a week, but I mean it took me maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours a week to grow that. So it was very low amount of time, which was perfect for me. 10 minutes a day to kind of water and check on my microgreens, because there's not a lot of work. The main
Mhm.
work is harvesting and packaging. That's your biggest labor piece. Seeding is pretty quick. You're going to stack those trays, let them sit for 3 to 4 days. You're going to unstack them under your grow lights on your shelves, and you're going to water them once a day. That
Mhm.
takes a few minutes. When it comes to harvest, you're going to harvest and package that depending on who your customer is, and it's really doable. The people,
Mhm.
what I always recommend if you want to do this is keep it really simple in the beginning. Choose a few basic varieties that there's already a demand for. Once you start getting on YouTube, you'll see there's all these different kinds of microgreens that people are growing. I recommend my top sellers and what I sell. 85% of my business are 3 varieties of microgreens, all super easy to grow. Pea shoots, radish shoots, and micro broccoli. Those are my 3
Mhm.
top sellers. I've grown, I don't know, 60 different varieties, but those are the 3 that I make the most money from. They are the most consistent growers. They're easy to grow and there's a demand for them. So
Mhm.
grow the easy ones to start. Choose one type of customer to market to. If you want to sell to restaurants, sell to restaurants.
Mhm.
If you want to sell directly to individuals, do that. Uh,
Mhm.
Try to just pick one to focus on at first rather than trying to sell to lots of different places. If you want to sell to a grocery store, do that. Pick one customer and really target in on who you want to sell to, and start small. I always recommend keep things simple, start small, start with 1 or 2 restaurants, start with, 5 or 6 people, start with 1 grocery store, and get your growing down. Get really good at that. Get those regular orders. Once you have that figured out, it's very easy to add more customers and scale up. You learn so much on that small scale when the stakes are low, and it's easy uh, to learn and figure things out. And then
Mhm.
you can just scale up. Microgreens are very profitable. The margins are really, really good. So
Yeah.
if you are looking for a way to just bring in extra money to fund your homestead, I don't know about you, but a lot of my homesteading endeavors are not profitable. In fact, they're
Mhm.
costly. Highly
Exactly.
valuable.
Mhm.
Highly valuable to
Mhm.
me and my lifestyle,
Mhm.
but not necessarily financially profitable. My
Mhm.
microgreens help to fund some of those less profitable things that I still find very valuable. So I
Mhm.
know for a lot of people, that's what they love about microgreens is it's a way that they can make money that's still aligned with their core values of nutritious food, contributing to the local food economy, and helping, getting good food on people's plates, even your own family's plate that you can provide year round. When you grow these in your home,
Mhm.
on a shelf with grow lights, you can grow them consistently year round, which means fresh greens. Even if you live somewhere where gardening is seasonal, you have those microgreens to offer in the off seasons. Uh,
Mhm.
it's very doable.
Yeah, it sounds very doable. It's like you're convincing me, at least to grow for myself. Um, so you were saying, choose one type of person to sell to. How do you go about like deciding that? Is it just like look around to your local community and see who might need what you have? How would you go about finding those customers?
Yeah. Well, I would ask, who do you want to sell to? So some
Mhm.
people, they are foodies. They love, restaurant. They love that whole culinary world of restaurants. It's a natural fit. Maybe you've worked in the restaurant industry or you know people in the restaurant industry.
Mhm.
That's going to probably be an easy fit. If the idea of selling and stresses you out, maybe start at a farmer's market where you're not going to have that pressure to fill orders every week right in the beginning. You can kind of bring what you grow that week
Mhm.
and sell it. Or if you just love the idea of selling directly to people that you think would be really rewarding, you're going to get a higher price point, right? When you're selling direct to people, it's
Mhm.
more work on the marketing end. So you're going to have to interact with a lot of people, reach out, explain what microgreens are 1,000 times, but that's great. That is such a privilege to be able to educate people and
Mhm.
give them a practical, tangible way that they can start eating better and provide that for them. If you say, no, I don't want to do all that marketing, I don't want to talk to people, then maybe you do want to look in a wholesale direction. It's a little bit harder to jump straight into selling. I sell through a distributor now,
Mhm.
but I sold through all these venues before: farmers markets, direct to consumer, to restaurants, to chefs, to caterers, to CSAs. If you have other farms in the area, this can be a great add-on item that you can sell. These are my favorite customers, CSAs. They already have an audience of people that are buying from them that value
Mhm.
local food. And then you say, hey, in the off season, winter, fall, would you like to buy microgreens from me to include in your boxes? So
Mm.
some of it's just
That's great.
choosing who you want to grow for. If you're going to start this as a business, you want it to be something that you love so that it will be
Right.
sustainable. So choose a customer base that you're going to be really excited to grow for.
Mhm. Yeah, and my group members and my podcast listeners should know that because I talk about that a lot. You do things that you love to do, and then it won't be as hard to do it. So
Yeah,
if you enjoy it, you'll be invested in other ways besides just that it might make you money. You'll be invested in this is fulfilling me, you know. So same with choosing the people that you serve, you know, that it the love for them doesn't run out, you know, type of thing.
absolutely.
Yeah. So we have some questions from Joni, who is here, is asking more questions. But she had asked, like, what's the cost to get started? Could you give like you know, just a ballpark, like how much
Yeah,
would it
so
cost to get started?
for supplies, it's going to cost if you're going to buy a rack and grow lights and get yourself set up with soil, trays, seed, you're looking about $400 to $500 for that initial setup for all your expenses. Now, I highly recommend you invest in a program. I recommend you invest in my program.
Hmm.
It will get you profitable a lot sooner. But you don't have to. You can go slower, and you can piecemeal information together. There's a lot of information out there. What I recommend, why I love the idea of investing in a program, whether it's mine or there's other microgreens courses out there, is it's going to give you a really solid framework. I've just worked with a lot of people who easily get conflicting information. They get discouraged because things aren't working and they give up. So maybe they buy their supplies, they're trying to figure out how to do it, it's not working, and they give up. And that always makes me sad. Some of them
Hmm.
come into my program and I'm so happy because all they need is that framework to follow and someone consistent that they can go to ask questions.
Hmm.
So my program, we meet together. I just got off the call. We meet together every week and go over questions. So everyone's kind of learning at their own pace with pre-recorded content where I walk you through, here's how you set up your business, here's how you grow, here's how you market, here's how you sell, all those basic steps. And you can go back and kind of work through them at your own pace. And then every week you can come or submit questions and get feedback. So as you're implementing what you're learning, you're getting answers. And this is going to help you to become profitable sooner. I know it can
Hmm.
feel hard to invest more money, and you don't have to. You can learn on your own. You can figure it out, but it will be harder. It will take longer. And I've just seen a lot of people kind of give up
Hmm.
because they don't have that ongoing support. It can be hard, especially if you've never had a business before. A lot of people, maybe you're not getting people who seem interested and you just can
Hmm.
start to doubt yourself. So having a community around you who's saying, yeah, we get it. Here's what I tried. Or maybe you're having issues with your growing, to have someone you can go through and say, let's troubleshoot. Let's look at this, and this and see what's going on. So
Yeah.
initial supplies for $400 to $500. I recommend you invest in a program that is going to teach you and give you the guidance that you need and the consistent framework of information to follow so that you can start making sales so much quicker.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that because you're actually wasting money by not just getting the education by somebody, somebody who knows what they're doing. You're actually wasting money because your time is money and you could be possibly like investing in this and that. And then all of a sudden you realize you're paying as much as you would have if you just invested in initially. So I highly recommend it. And so this is a good time to share what it is that you offer and where to find that. And then we're going to go and ask the last couple questions that Joni had. We're going to,
Okay. Yeah. So my program is only open through the end of the month right now, and then it'll be open again in January. So if you go to my website, handgrowngreens.com, that's my microgreens farm, Handgrown Greens, you will see in my courses there that it's open for enrollment. There's a whole bunch more information. So if you go to handgrowngreens.com and you go to courses, Make Money with Microgreens, then what it's all about is right there in the title. I'm going to teach you how to make money with microgreens, whether that means you want that one customer that's bringing in an extra 200 a week, or you want to scale it up so you can leave your job. It's going to show you how to do that, the whole gamut. You can choose what you want. So check it out on the website. There's a whole bunch more information, but there are only a few more days for this enrollment period. But I'd love to get you in. If you're interested in doing this, we have an awesome community of growers in there, people who've been through the program and are continuing to be active in the community. So it's a lot of fun. I love connecting with other microgreens growers.
yeah, that sounds awesome. And I'm glad we caught you before it closed. So that at least there's some
Yeah,
time for people to make the decision. Um, but that was really just useful, great information. Also, if you're not following Laura on her Instagram, you should do that because she shares a lot of really
that's
great
true. I'm on
information.
Instagram also.
What I had put your handle up in the group, but what is it again?
Handgrown Greens.
Okay, that's your Instagram handle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
you'll find links to everything in my Instagram. So if that's easier, yeah, just look me up on Instagram, Handgrown Greens, and you'll find information about my course and
Yeah.
all of that there.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. There was this question, which is how long do microgreens last?
Shelf life on most microgreens is 7 to 10 days. So on the more delicate microgreens, 7 days. On the more robust shoots, 10 days. Honestly, my microgreens last a lot longer than that. It's all about perfecting the harvest. So harvesting your microgreens when they are well hydrated but dry. What will make microgreens go bad quickly is if you're harvesting them and they're wet and then you're putting them in a package. They will not last as long. But I will teach you how to make sure that you're harvesting them when they're at their prime. And then 7 to 10 days is what I package. I put on all my containers, but honestly, they're still, they last much longer than that. But 7 to 10 days is what my standard answer.
Do you have chickens by any chance? Do you
I
feed the
do.
rest of them to your
Yes.
chickens?
The chickens love microgreens.
I bet they do. Okay, well, thank you so much. I think that's all the questions I have right now. And if anybody has any further questions, make sure you connect with Laura on either on her Instagram or go to her website. And we'll link all that also. I usually take these videos and put them in a guide on our group so that people can reference these, how we have 207 members right now, but it keeps growing every day. So you never
Awesome.
know. People could be a lot of people by time January comes.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's such a great thing if you have that homesteader spirit. This can be such a aligned way of feeding your family better and making money. So I know for me, the draw was something that I felt rewarding and something that gave me freedom and flexibility to prioritize my family. That was still is my driving force, is creating a business that allows me to prioritize that. I always said my family was my priority, but for years, if you looked at my day to day, it didn't look like that. So now with implementing and having my own business, I'm able to do that, having a flexible type of business. So
Yeah.
it's possible. If you're out there trying to find something, consider microgreens. It might be a really good fit for you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely check her out. And thank you so much again. I know you're busy today, but thank you for squeezing us in. And yeah, just thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure and honor to talk with you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
All right, bye, Mona.
Bye.